All right, g'day boys. We're back. It's Tablebuzz. We're here with Nhl.Discussion. Anthony Jacob. We had him on a previous episode.
He
a
knows
while
his
back.
hockey.
Yeah, this guy is an absolute whiz, a wealth of knowledge,
A fountain of, what would you even say?
fountain of information,
Of wealth.
a fountain of wealth.
No, but we had a little hiatus of people here in the pod. Hiatus of time. We were off for 1 or 2 weeks from guests, but this is a perfect guest to kick it off with the craziness of the NHL.
Yeah,
We're going to sit here and talk a few minutes.
we've been busy. We've been doing lots. Our weekends are weird. Our weekends are now Wednesday and Thursday. That's our Saturday, Sunday. Just the way that it's been working out. We had a Machine Gun Kelly concert on a Wednesday 2 weeks ago. That was unreal. But then our Sunday just turns into the Thursday, and then we get 2 weekends a week. It's pretty wicked.
Yeah, it's cool.
But last Wednesday, where'd we go, Rich?
Last Wednesday, we were at the Pink Whitney party, Biz's Great Canadian Expedition. Nuts time. We got to meet Biz. We were talking to Biz for probably 5 minutes the whole night. Every time Biz walked by, it'd just be like me with the boys at Peaks. I'd be like, at a boy like Fran walking by, and he'd just give the boys a
Little hang loose.
yeah. So like, it was a pretty cool experience. Lots of free Pink Whitney around. Got to drink high noons for the first time. Shout out Dave Portnoy, you're the man. What were your thoughts on it, Josh?
Biz was being such a beauty. Didn't really know what he was going to be like when we showed up and stuff, or how the whole thing was going to be run or whatever. But, run. The boys got sewered on our way there. So basically, all right, story from the beginning. We see this post that Biz is doing this meet and greet in Toronto. We're like, wicked, that's unreal. We'll have to try and get to that. Like 12 hours later, that same day, Fran Sanchez sends us this same post that we saw. We were like, oh, okay, cool. But this one was from Canadian Party Life. So I click on it, and I was like, yeah, like I already seen that. But I gave him like the oh, that's sick, man. At the bottom, it says, email this email address. First 300 people get on the list. So we did that immediately. So thank you, Fran. We got on the list. We show up, and we know we have to be there for 7:30. We had rented these bikes for the whole day that just you buzz in, buzz out. They were giving us issues, and then we go to get on them, and sure enough, like the card wasn't working, whatever. We couldn't get our bikes, so we were 45-minute walk away from this Budweiser stage. It's not like downtown. It's a little more
It's
over
like
to the west.
7:12 when we look. The first bike stop we get to, it's like 7:12, I think.
Yeah, and we were like, shit, like the bikes would have gotten us there on time, like no problem. That's what we were planning around, but like we were in trouble. We had to get there. So the boys just leg it 3.5 kilometers, 20 minutes, no problem. Don't even need to talk about it. Like whatever, we're in the bag. We get there, no security, nothing, no line. Like we could have showed up probably 8 o'clock and it wouldn't have made a difference. But we get there, they're giving us free Pink Whitney shots and stuff like that. Biz shows up being a beauty, got to talk to him, just taking pictures with everyone. He wasn't being like the celebrity there, even though everyone was treating him like that, just swarming him. But it was sick. He wasn't
He didn't let the boy down. He didn't let the boys down.
big time. We were showing
For
up
sure.
bagged, and we were like, this better be worth it. And like without a doubt, it was.
It was sick. Hopefully we're in his YouTube. We have a nice little shot. He's smoking a J, and we get up behind him, flashing the merch and stuff, and he turns around and he's like, these boys come from the top rope, so we're hoping that makes the YouTube.
Yeah.
It'd be huge.
We also vlogged the whole day, so that's up on our YouTube right
Yeah.
now. You can see all the nonsense we got up to because there was quite a lot of it.
Became pretty good buddies with Spit and Chicklets memes.
Yeah, we met some
Runner of the
guys
memes
that
again.
at the time
Actually,
I had not heard
this is funny because Chicklets fans will know now. Rick from Red Deer is the person. So Rick from Red Deer is just chilling there. We didn't just look like an average dude. Me and Josh are talking to him, and like Josh is like, "So why are you here?" And Rick from Red Deer is like, "Oh, my friend's like is memes, like Chicklets memes." Josh doesn't know who Chicklets memes is, and I'm like, "Holy shit!" Like he's memes is across the room, and I said to Rick from Red Deer, I was like, "Get him over here." And he's like, okay. But I was like, yeah, memes, get over here. Memes was a beauty. He wants to come on the pod. We got to reach out to him again. He said that we could take his pod V card, but he was a beauty. He made the night sick, too.
Yeah, big time. I had not known who he was beforehand. Became a fan of him by meeting him. He was a great dude. Big handlebar mustache. Was dope. So that was kind of it for that night. We ran into him as he was leaving, like Rich said.
Yeah.
So hopefully we're in that video. Got a
Wild.
free T-shirt too. It was just a sick time. Then we had earlier that day. We've been making these prank vids. You may or may not have seen them on our Instagram and YouTube, I guess. This MF Sparks guy. There's a little podcast we tried to do outside on the street, on Bay Street where we live, over by Nathan Phillips Square. And while we're doing it, this guy pulls up and he was like, "Are you guys creators?" And then he stops right there and he's this Pokemon guy. And he was like, "If you can answer this trivia question, like I'll give you this pack of Pokemon cards." We were like, "Okay." So we hook up with this guy to go film some videos in public, like eating shit out of diapers. Like,
Well, one of them, the first one we did, he brought his kid.
yeah,
We had a real life baby that was actually like making noises and stuff. That was pretty like okay. And then the next one we did, we meet him. We had to bike there. That was the day of the Pink Whitney party, and it was just the prank was kind of weird.
yeah.
Not gonna lie.
He was trying to get me to go up and like just ask someone for directions, and then he would come up and be like, "Yo, like why are you talking to my girl, bro?" And then I would just slap him across the face and knock him out.
And he would
then,
fall, yeah.
and he would fall like very flamboyantly. Yeah, so that was fun. He was an interesting guy. Definitely not shy at all. Like just screaming in public. Like he was a
Yelling
great
at
guy.
girls like Jessica. Like,
Yeah,
but hey, that's our
collab experience here.
yeah. We've been going to a lot of Jays games. Obviously, lots of Jays stuff happening. 6 All-Stars at the All-Star game.
Yeah.
Home run derby last night. J-Rod Rodriguez, a 21-year-old. He's a little bit older than me.
Makes you
He
shake your head.
hit 32 dingers in his first round, which is the second most ever. Can't tell you who the first most ever is, but it is indeed the second most ever, which is nuts.
It was Alonso the year before with 35.
Okay,
Defending
cool.
champ who he knocked off in the second round. Not a big deal.
Yeah, that's nuts.
But other than that, the boys just got into F1. The whole sport is sick. It's kind of taken over like North America on Netflix and all that. So we figured we'd try and learn a bit about it since it's pretty cool.
Nuts sport. What really got me into it, though, is when we went to that golf tournament, someone said I looked like Max Verstappen.
Yes, that's right.
That's the start of it all. And
He's not wrong. Like there's a striking resemblance between this guy.
people are saying, like, I actually get like glowing reviews of me being Max Verstappen. Like, don't even mention it on anything.
And then a chick on Tinder the other day.
Yeah, like I
Out
don't
of
even
nowhere.
mention it in my bio, and like 3 or 4 people have said that. So it has to happen. Me and Max have to meet up. Max will come in this pod someday. I've been thinking about buying a full Red Bull uniform and just rocking it places, seeing if people actually think I'm Max. I have to wear shades, though, I think is the thing, because my eyes aren't like...
Yeah, you don't have those Dutch eyes, eh?
Yeah, but I have his accent down pretty good, like, you know? But I'm excited for it. I don't know who wouldn't be.
Yeah, we'll be watching some of the upcoming races.
Yeah, I'm a big F1 guy now.
Yeah.
Max is my only favorite player, obviously, or favorite racer, but I like Lando. Lando's cool because Max talks about having him on his jet all the time and stuff, so.
And he's like 22.
Yeah.
Living it up.
The MLB All-Star Game, Josh.
Yeah, it's coming up
Tonight.
today.
You pumped?
Yeah, I'm pumped to see it. The MLB All-Star Game is... Baseball's weird for
I want
having
it
an
to be
All-Star
tied.
game. Like, the NBA All-Star Game, like, everyone's, like, scoring the whole time and, like, making plays and stuff. But this one is, like, the closest to a real game.
Yeah,
out of all
because the pitchers
sports.
can actually... It's the best pitchers, the best hitters. They leave one over the plate a little bit too much. It's going to be a home run. But if they're just throwing their normal stuff that got them to the All-Star game, it's probably gonna be a low-scoring game.
Yeah.
If it is tied after 9 tonight, they're doing a three-hitter swing-off.
Now, you told me that yesterday, and then I was like, oh, that's cool. But then I was like, how is that going to work? Would that not just be, like, extra innings, like 3 hitters? Or, like, are they going to be hitting...
It's like a home run derby.
Oh, it's
swing
to
off.
hit a dinger, not just, like... Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. There won't be any fielders, but I assume it will be, like, the closers.
Yeah,
Or maybe they'll just give them soft pitches. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see.
Maybe
If it comes
I
down
feel
to
like it will definitely be soft pitches. Actually,
yeah, if they're doing a home run derby, like
yeah,
Vladdy can't just come up and hit a dinger every time.
but
on,
that's
normal
I think
pitching.
that's what the point of it is, to be like, oh, Vladdy or like Shohei Ohtani or Aaron Judge aren't in the home run derby, but like
Yeah,
they'll do this sequence of the home run derby.
yeah.
Kind of thing.
No, I like it. I
love it.
The call for sure.
Jordan Romano probably going to pitch tonight too. Let's hope gets an inning in there or an out or two.
Yeah,
Be awesome.
yeah. It should be a fun game to watch, especially where All-Star games are all offense. Where this one you get to see like the showcase of the defense, because pitchers have like the biggest. They're like the goalie in hockey, but in the All-Star game you don't really care about the goalies. You just want to see them like rip on them.
You do care about the pitchers tonight. The starters are Kershaw for the NL at Dodger Stadium. He's pretty pumped about it. His first All-Star start ever. And for the AL, we got Shane McClanahan.
Shane McClanahan from your Tampa Bay Rays.
Oh, I said it so wrong there. Got Shane McClanahan.
There you go.
Well,
The current MLB strikeout leader. Anyways.
Sit back and relax. Enjoy this NHL discussions. Josh has some pretty fucked takes here for his NHL. It's back. It's crazy. NHL discussion. Filling us all in. Thanks, Anthony, for joining us. Enjoy it.
Quick disclaimer. Your boy kind of messed up hitting the record button at the very beginning. So we covered the NHL entry draft. Basically, his thoughts on Shane Wright slipping down, where he had Slavkovsky pegged as his number one. He was thinking that Montreal was going to take him, and he was pretty sure that New Jersey was going for a defenseman, so he wasn't surprised to see Nemec taken second overall. And then after that, it was all pretty close. So
Arizona just loved Cooley, he thought. So
yeah,
he wasn't surprised about the slip. Tablebuzz merch is 20% off until Saturday. I advise you to go spend all your money on Tablebuzz. Go get it as quick as you can. 20% off. Enjoy NHL discussion. We'll have some big guests coming up here soon. Cheers.
Cheers. We're going to step away from the pod just for a quick second to announce that we've recently partnered with BetStamp.
Yeah, nowadays the only way to get the edge in your sports betting is if you're with all the sports books. BetStamp links you with all the sports books. You get all the odds on whatever you want to bet. For example, tonight I want Tampa Bay Lightning. Think they're going to steamroll Colorado. My best place to go is Caesars Sportsbook. They're plus 140. Other sports books might not be offering the same. Actually, I can tell you, they definitely ain't offering the same.
BetStamp has verified bet tracking, so if you're buying your bets from someone who's selling their bets online, you know that they're not false advertising the amount of money that they're bringing in. All bets are verified at the odds that they were placed. And if you're selling your bets, they ask no commission in return. It's completely free. You make what you get.
So remember, if you're putting that money down, you want that maximum return. BetStamp's a place to do that. You can go to betstamp.app/Ontario today. Use the Tablebuzz referral code and start making that money. Let's get back to the pod.
What about your Leafs there? They picked up a goalie, Matt Murray. What are your thoughts on their situation right now?
Well, I think the key to Matt Murray was that he's on a 2-year term. And the cap hit's pretty high. It's 4.69 or something for Matt Murray for the next 2 years with the salary retained. But it's only 2 years, and they would have had to commit 5 if they were to sign Jack Campbell or Darcy Kemper, which I think were their other 2 goaltending targets. And I think with Campbell's inconsistent play this past season, and even Kemper, I know he won the Stanley Cup, but he was a little shaky at times with the Avalanche as well. I just don't think they were willing to commit 5 years to a goaltender who's already into his 30s. And yeah, it's a risk getting Matt Murray for sure. I mean, he hasn't been Matt Murray of old for like 3 or 4 years now already, if not more. And I mean, you get another backup option there in Samsonov, who, again, somebody who was one of the best goaltending prospects in the world only a couple of years ago. Things haven't really worked out in Washington. it's two really huge bets for the Leafs there in net. And I mean, if it doesn't work out, they're really on the hook, because you're not going to be getting rid of that $5 million Matt Murray very easily if he has another bad season. So I think the Leafs are really going to live and die on this Matt Murray bet. And honestly, maybe the whole management crew, like if Matt Murray doesn't work out and they can't get rid of that contract, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the end of Kyle Dubas or Brendan Shanahan's tenure. So it's a critical move for them to get right.
Yeah, this season the Leafs jobs are definitely on the line. I think it's time to push past the first round and really make some damage in the Eastern Conference. I'm not saying like they're gonna expect, like everyone might expect them to go out and win a Stanley Cup, but at least make it to like the conference finals and really show that you're the team in the East. You know what I mean?
They have gotten unlucky with their matchups and stuff. Whereas, like, if they could have just got out of the first round, then it looked promising to go a little further. But you got to be able to knock off those teams.
Well, exactly. And I mean, this year I wasn't quite as disappointed. I mean, they lost to Tampa Bay, the back-to-back defending Cup champs, who ended up making it there again. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you can't win a cup if you can't beat like a Tampa or whatever. And it doesn't matter if it's in round 1 or round 4. If you can't beat them, then you can't win a cup. But this is such a critical year for them. And they lost some guys up front. They lost Mikheyev, they lost Kasha, and they didn't really add too much up front. They added Abe Kubel, they added Gaudette, they added Yarncroc. None of those guys exactly are goal scorers. No. So I'm worried about the scoring depth. I'm worried about the goaltending. And for once, maybe the defense is the most stabilizing part of the team.
But you got to keep Pierre Engvall. Like, things got to be looking up.
Yeah, I guess so. The Swedes are staying around.
Did it sting at all watching Kadri these playoffs?
Yeah, especially that OT winner with his broken hand or whatever. But I don't know. I'm happy for the guy. I always liked him on the Leafs. He's always been a great second line center. I know someone's really going to overpay him, give him $9-10 million, and he's going to be back to 60-point Nazem Kadri, and it's going to turn out to be a bad contract. But he looked really good this whole season on the playoff run. So I'm happy for the guy.
So who do you think that team is that's going to give him that contract?
I really don't know. It's such a tough one to pick, especially with so many teams so close up against the cap. I guess you kind of have to look at teams who missed out on Gaudreau, maybe. Like, I'd be looking at, first of all, the Flames. I don't really know if that's the best fit ever. Definitely the Flames would be in on that. I could see Lou Lamoriello and the New York Islanders getting into that. I know they really wanted to make a push for Gaudreau, and it never happened. But then again, either way, he's going to be slotting into that second line center role. He's in his 30s. It sounds like it's going to be a long-term deal in the $9 million range. And it just seems like a lot of money for a guy who's probably going downhill after this career season.
Yeah, 100%. He had his moment in the sun. We'll stay in the Ontario region, though, because the Ottawa Senators made some heat moves here in the playoffs.
Crazy moves.
Or not in the playoffs, sorry. After the draft, pretty much. They got DeBrincat, Talbot, and then they signed Giroux.
Going from one of the worst teams in the league on paper to looking like a contender.
Yeah, I know the Senators had a crazy offseason, and they're finally pushing the pace. I think they still need a defenseman is the key there. I think they need someone to support Thomas Chabot back there. I think they're a little weak after that. But I mean, up front, what a top six they have now, adding Giroux and DeBrincat in there. You already have Josh Norris, Drake Batherson, Brady Tkachuk, Tim Stützle. That top six is going to be lethal this year for sure. So I think the Senators on the rise. Really, their season's going to depend on how that defense goes, how Cam Talbot plays, who they brought in. But in terms of how many goals this team's going to score and how exciting it's going to be to watch, it's going to be a really exciting team, which is something that we haven't seen from the Senators since those Erik Karlsson days.
Yeah, it should be a
Back in the
breath of,
Hamburglar.
breath
Yeah,
of fresh air
exactly.
for Sens fans.
Are they getting a new arena anytime soon too? I thought they were like
Not
if
that
that
I'm
team.
aware of, no.
Yeah,
Yeah. But
sucks. But
yeah, we'll have to see about that. I know there's been talks about it, but I'm not sure anything's confirmed yet.
So the
Yeah,
Sens are definitely something to keep your eye on this season.
yeah,
for
hopefully
sure.
that will boost their attendance a bit
Yeah.
too.
I guess the big thing for the Senators, though, is like what team in the Atlantic do they knock off? Because you've got the Leafs,
Yeah.
Lightning, Bruins, Panthers. So which of those teams would you guys think they could potentially unseat?
The Bruins are always kind of a question mark, especially with their core getting older and Bergeron coming back for one more year. I'm not super dialed in on how many moves they've made after the draft, but I feel like they're always hit or miss for me, at least.
Yeah, I could see the Bruins taking a bit of a step back. I know they have a bunch of injuries as well. Like I think Marchand might be out till at least Christmas or something. I think there's a couple other of them too. Obviously, Bergeron still hasn't signed a contract. I'm expecting him to return at least for this season, but until he signs that contract, you can't guarantee it. So yeah, I could see the Bruins taking a step back. Leafs maybe a bit of a step back, but I don't think they've got that much worse that they're going to miss the playoffs this season or anything. And same with the Lightning, lost some depth pieces again, but they're the Lightning. They're making the playoffs. Same with the Panthers. So as much as you could say the Senators have improved a ton, it's going to be tough for them to unseat anybody there in the Atlantic Division.
Yeah. Their new guys will have to be clicking pretty good to be able to compete right off the bat, at least.
Yeah, for sure.
Patty Kane has come up in a lot of discussions here lately. Like he might be on the move at Chicago. Chicago just made a lot of moves. Obviously, just traded everyone he likes playing with, pretty much. Like, where's a destination you could see him going to?
That's a tough one too. I feel like if anything, it's going to be like a trade deadline type thing. A team that maybe they've got a big injury or something like that, or maybe they're just an up and coming team that needs a little bit of a scoring punch. Who that team is, I'm not too sure yet. I'm not sure that's going to be a deal that happens this off season. Still, I kind of feel like Chicago's done most of their wheeling and dealing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about some of the moves they've made, shipping off DeBrincat for just that mid first round pick. I think they could have gotten more for that, and then giving up on Kirby Dach already at only the age of 21. I mean, I know they're supposed to be rebuilding, but it kind of seems like DeBrincat and Dach are two guys they could be building around. So I'm not too sold on what Chicago has done this offseason. And yeah, I'm not sure about the Patty Kane situation. I think he'll be dealt eventually. There's going to be a lot of salary that'll have to be retained, but I mean, he's still one of the best playmakers in the league. So there should be a lot of teams that are going after him pretty hard if Chicago tries to move him.
Yeah, I could see his name being at the top of the trade bait for the whole day there in Trade Center.
A Patty Kane pickup at the deadline would help a lot of teams, I would imagine.
No kidding.
Like, what are they doing dumping off DeBrincat? Like, they get a first round pick back. Was DeBrincat a first round pick?
I thought he fell to the second round, but he should have been like a top 10 pick, but because of his size, he fell down. But I mean, one of the top 5-10 goal scorers in the league. So I mean, that's a tough thing to give up for a mid first round pick.
Yeah, you're just going back to the well to hope that it pans out again, and then if you're lucky, you'll end up with another DeBrincat, which you just traded away for the same chance.
And Dach was a third overall pick, only 21. That's even more sillier.
Like he didn't get to play, like you didn't get to see him very much, but you can't deny that there's a whole lot of potential there whenever you're just trying to gauge the potential of your team in 5 years if they're going to be good. Like, it seems pretty counterproductive.
No, I'd have to agree too. And Doc's had lots of injuries and such. I mean, I don't think he's had a whole season in the NHL yet to really show what he's all about, and hasn't been supported with the best players either. So I don't know, just giving up on him so early just doesn't quite make sense. But for the Habs, picking up Kirby Dach there, I think that's a pretty swift little piece of business, getting Kirby Dach there. You can put him behind Nick Suzuki, and A team that was lacking centerman so much a couple of years ago, and even on their playoff run, all of a sudden, I think a Suzuki Doc 1-2 combo could look pretty good in a couple of years.
Big time. Yeah. Another team that's on the rise. This is my team, the Red Wings. It was looking like a pretty unreal offseason so far. Really liking how things are going. Would you agree?
I totally agree with the Red Wings. Another team in the Atlantic that's on the rise. It's going to be quite the division in a few years when pretty much all 8 teams are competitive. I like what they did. I really like the bringing in Husso. I think Husso and Nedeljkovic is going to be a great tandem, and one of those guys could really turn into a complete stud in a couple of years. You'd hope once this team's competitive. I think they're hoping one of those two guys is a star. I didn't like the Ben Sherratt signing for sure. I thought they overpaid him by quite a bit, but they had a ton of money to spend. It's still a young team. They don't have to pay Raymond or Sider quite yet. Those are going to be huge contracts, of course, but this is a team on the rise for sure. Waiting to see what that Dylan Larkin extension looks like whenever it comes in. But I really like the core pieces they've built around, and I think this is another team that's for sure on the rise. Maybe not this year quite yet in terms of competing for a playoff spot, but in terms of continued development and starting to fight for one of those final wild card spots, I think they're getting close to that for sure.
Yeah, there could definitely be a shift in power in the Atlantic Division over the next 2 or 3 years with the Senators and Wings climbing up, and even the Habs, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
But the teams that are in power now, I don't think they're going to get that much worse.
So yeah, I know. Like the Leafs are looking promising, but the only one I could see is if Tampa loses Kucherov, or if Stamkos gets hurt again or something like that. Then, but Vasilevsky's not going anywhere either. So yeah,
that's going to be a heck of a division.
Yeah.
No, it really is a few years. Like you said, I can't see the Leafs falling off. Although they've got all their contracts coming up. Matthews has only got 2 more years. Nylander's only got 2 more years. Tavares and Marner only have 3. So that's kind of the question mark for the Leafs is what happens once they have to re-sign those guys. I mean, Matthews is already making like over 11.5 million. So we'll see what his next contract's looking like, and same with Marner. But and if they end up re-signing with Toronto, which, I mean, if they haven't won a playoff series in 8 years of him being there, I'm not so sure he is going to re-sign. But that's the one team I could see potentially falling down. Bruins, I think, eventually are going to fall down. But yeah, I mean, the 2 teams from Florida, I can't see them going anywhere in the next few years either. So it's going to be an absolute dogfight in that division in about 2 or 3 years. It's just going to be crazy.
Yeah, I'm all for it though. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, especially where they're the games that we get to watch. To have just exciting matchups all year of good games should be awesome.
Exactly. Yeah.
What did you think about the Johnny Gaudreau to Columbus, about his final decision there?
It really came out of nowhere. Like, even him leaving Calgary, as much as it came down to the last day, I was always kind of in the back of my head. I'm like, you know what, he's just going to sign with Gaudreau. Yeah. It's going to be boring. And then once I heard the news that he's leaving Calgary, I was pretty excited to see where he ends up going. I heard the Devils a lot in terms of looking for or going after him hard. I heard the Islanders. I even heard the Flyers a little bit. And when Columbus got thrown in there a little bit, I kind of discounted it just because they're Columbus, a smaller market team that has really struggled to sign and keep stars recently. And really until that final announcement that he was coming to Columbus, I still wasn't quite believing that it was happening. And I saw a tweet from Frank Saravalli around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and he was saying that the Blue Jackets had offered Gaudreau something in the range of 7 years and 12 million per. And I was thinking, my goodness, this should be crazy if he were to turn down a $12 million per season contract. And when the AAV came in and was under 10 million per season, I just couldn't believe it, especially when when the Flames had offered him so much more. So it really shocked me, but I like the Columbus. I like a lot of their prospects that are coming up. They've got some intriguing players up front and on the back end. I like Laine, Werenski. Like they're not that boring of a team to watch. So what a huge signing for that organization. And in a metropolitan division that's kind of all over the place, this signing could kind of push them towards a playoff spot again in what's this kind of quick rebuild they had.
Yeah, it seems so random. Like, he wasn't interested in money, which makes you think that he's worried about or trying to think about like a place he can win or a nice destination. And then he goes with neither in the Columbus, Ohio, with a team that hasn't been to the playoffs in a hot minute. Like, it was scratching my head for sure. I'd love to ask him, like, what are you thinking, man? Because obviously there had to be a reason behind it, but it's not like that was his only option.
Yeah, for sure. And it shocked me that he left the Flames. And like you said, it just seems like Columbus didn't check off any of the boxes that you'd possibly want as a free agent there, and he didn't get the money either. So it was really shocking to me, but I'm all for it. I mean, that's going to be a more exciting team to watch for sure next year with Gaudreau in the fold.
But I also like that he was maybe thinking it isn't about the money. I want to be able to help a team that I can go to, because you see all these young stars. Like, is Gaudreau 25 or 26?
Yeah, no, I think he's already late 20s. I think he's 28 or something like that already. He looks so young. It seems like he's been in the NHL for only a couple of years, but he's already about to hit his 30s. But yeah, I think he's got a lot of prime years left in him. Like, what did he have? 115 points this season or something? It was a ridiculous year. He's one of the best players in the league. So that's just a huge addition for the Flames, or for the Blue Jackets, for sure.
Yeah, I'd love to see the Stars trending in the direction of, I'll take less money. Let's try and get more teams that can win the Stanley Cup here. I like that play a lot.
Do you think that Carolina trade for Brent Burns is going to help them out any? Do you think Brent Burns still has any left in the tank?
Carolina had a super weird offseason. Like, they lost Vinny Trocheck. He ended up signing with the Rangers. They bring in Brent Burns on defense after losing a couple guys back there. I don't know how I feel about the Brent Burns. He's definitely fallen off recently.
Yeah.
He's up there in age. His speed isn't where it used to be. How does he fit into that team? I guess he obviously goes on power play one there, and then you add in Max Pacioretty as well. I think he's still one of the better goal scorers in the league, but he's also up there in age, also has injury issues. Two trades that I completely wasn't expecting. Those are probably the two biggest shockers, was Burns and Pacioretty to the Hurricanes, but they added some experience. It seems like they wanted to go in a bit of a different direction, maybe change up that leadership group a bit, and Pacioretty and Burns are definitely two guys with a lot of experience and a lot of leadership. Does it make the team better, though? I'm not completely sold on that, to be honest. Especially in the Burns situation, I think it's going to be real hit or miss, where he could have a bounce back season, or things could really fall off the rails even worse.
Yeah, I think Carolina might have just, like, they've had a great team the last few years, but they're kind of stuck in that range of being in like the top 5, but not the top 2. So I think maybe just trying to shift things around, really just cross your fingers and hope that it pans out slightly better, because they haven't really been doing too much wrong as of late.
Yeah, for sure. I'd agree with that.
Do you hear anything on the Dubas? Well, obviously his agent came out and said Pierre-Luc Dubois, he wants to go to Montreal. Like, I don't know why his agent would be straight out coming out and saying that, but do you think that Martin St. Louis and the boys make it happen? I guess Kent Hughes.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, they just traded for Kirby Dach. They signed Nick Suzuki to a big contract.
Yeah, they're pretty.
I guess the Jets are going to have to trade him, because it seems like he's just not staying in Winnipeg. And does it happen in Montreal? I'm not completely sold on that, just because of what they've already added. But I do know that the Canadians always really push for having a couple of those French Canadians on the team. PLD is a really good player. Probably ideally a second line center. I know he's looking for like an 8x8 type contract, which might be a little bit rich. I know the Jets are going to want a lot for him, considering they traded away their second overall pick in Patrick Laine for him. I'm not so sure that it happens this offseason. Maybe it's a mid-season trade, or maybe even next offseason, but I'm not so sold that it's going to be Montreal, even though his agent came right out and said he wants to go there.
I would even warn against it. I don't like that play at all, saying like picking one team whenever you don't even play for them. It seems like he's a good player, no doubt, but he hasn't had like a superstar, incredible. I don't know if he's had like a point a game season or what, but going from Columbus and then saying like, get me out of here, I'll try Winnipeg. Like they've had a good team the last couple of years, and then he shows up and they're not so hot anymore. And now he's saying, oh, I'm from Quebec, trade me to my hometown team. Like you're not that guy to just be making those calls, man.
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree with that. He's been good in Columbus, good in Winnipeg, but the same thing kind of happened in Columbus, where the relationship fell apart really early. He wasn't even playing at the end there, where he pretty much where he requested the trade, and then forced their hand by saying he wasn't even going to play until he got traded. And then the trade for Patrick Laine ended up happening. So hopefully something like that doesn't happen in Winnipeg here again, but it seems like he really does want to go play for the Habs there.
Yeah, I just think he could be a problematic person to have on the team, let alone on the ice.
Yeah, it seems that way.
There's another pretty big name that's still floating around there. Or actually, sorry, no, he's not floating around anymore. Were you ever considering Malkin going to another team, or did you have another destination in mind that you thought he was going to land?
Well, I saw a report come out that he was going to test free agency, and then there was all that drama about, he was texting his teammates that the Penguins think he's not good anymore or whatever. And then I really think it was just all Malkin trying to push for another year in his contract or another couple $1 million. And I really don't think he was ever going to leave the Penguins. It just wouldn't make sense. I couldn't see it happening. I think he's retiring a Penguin probably after these final 4 years on his contract. And then Letang obviously got the 6-year deal, which is pretty crazy at his age. But
yeah,
you gotta give those core pieces what they want, I guess. But for me, Malkin was always going to return. It just didn't make sense for him going anywhere else.
Yeah, he definitely could have just been trying to see what other teams would be willing to give him, and then just have a little bit of leverage, even though his like 15-year unreal career with that team isn't enough leverage. I don't know, but I wouldn't even like the Letang deal. You could say that was Pittsburgh doing him a favor for just like all these years of service and stuff. But like, if you've been so good to that franchise, then you should at least want them to have a future whenever you're gone. Like, don't just try and make it about you and then retire like 4 years into your 6-year deal and leave them with no cap and no future. I wouldn't want that for my team.
Yeah, I agree with that. But honestly, Chris Letang might be thinking he is going to be playing at a high level for the next 6 years. I mean, this year he certainly didn't look like a 36-year-old on the ice. It was one of the best seasons he's had in a while. So yeah, I see it going south in 2-3 years for sure. But I think that's probably all this Penguins core has anyways, and they don't have many prospects at all. So once Malkin ends up retiring, once Letang falls off the cliff, I mean, I think this team's going downhill regardless of how many years they have Letang signed for.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Do you think Crosby and Malkin retire together?
I could see Sid hanging around a little longer than Malkin, but I'm curious to hear what you think.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree with you that Sid's probably going to hang around longer. Like he just seems like the kind of guy who's going to play well into his 40s and just keep pounding out those great offensive seasons and doing what he needs to do for the Penguins. Could they retire together? it would be kind of cool, I think. But yeah, I kind of see Malkin returning to the KHL at some point,
Yeah.
and then Crosby kind of saying, yeah, I want to keep playing for a couple more years. So I kind of think that Cros stays a little bit longer.
Yeah, just where he's been like the poster boy, like literally the perfect hockey player. If you were to draw him up on a whiteboard, like he's gonna soak it in at the end. He'll have his victory tour. Like I'd imagine his last season, you'll know that it's gonna be Crosby's last season. Maybe he'll pull
Yeah.
up Brady and re-sign or something, but he's just the man. So I think he'll have a nice little tour to finish it off, and you'll know that the time's come.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right, we'll hit you with one major, it's pretty long question here. We got all 7 Canadian teams want to do like a little report card on their offseason so far. We'll start in the West, eh? Or do you want to start in the East? I guess you can pick.
We can start with the West.
Yeah, so Vancouver Canucks, what do you think? What would you be giving them?
For the offseason, they didn't do that much. They signed Ilya Mikheyev to that big contract, 4 years, 4.75 per season, I think it was. I don't love that as someone who follows the Leafs really closely. He's a good forechecker. He can score the odd goal, but I mean, he scored over 20 this year. I'd say reaching 20 again is a little bit of a reach. And I don't know. I just have a bit of a sense. I don't have a great sense of direction with this team. I don't know if I just feel like their core is not good enough. Like Pettersson and Besser have taken a step back. So is Quinn Hughes. And they're trying to build around these players that honestly, I don't think it's a good enough core to compete. And so they just kind of continue to sign depth players to big contracts around them. And they're just not good enough to compete. And I don't think Ilya Mikheyev moves the needle either. So we'll have to see if they make another move. But I mean, right now, I'd say I don't like this Canucks offseason whatsoever.
I love that the first thing you said about Mikheyev is that he's a good forechecker. I think that's a sign of maybe it wasn't the best signing for $5 million a year. But yeah, it seems like their core is made up of guys that you would want to get to add on to your core, like that one extra piece that you're missing. Like if Pettersson went to Carolina, then maybe he could be that extra piece for them, but he's not the guy that you want to at the very center of it to bring in guys around.
No, I'd agree. And then also JT Miller on his last year of his contract. I feel like you have to move him. Like he had a career season. You could really get some assets back for him, but it seems like they don't want to trade him. And I don't know. I just kind of feel like his value is going to go down from here. And yeah, I just feel like there's a bit of a bad sense of direction here with this management team.
Yeah, so like 50% in the report card, eh? Not very good.
Something like that. I'd give them a D. Just barely passing so far.
Yeah. I like it. What about the Edmonton Oilers?
Okay, yeah. So they finally got their goaltender. I've been waiting for them to sign a goalie for years and years. Finally, they're getting away from Mike Smith and Mikko Koskinen. I'm not sold that Jack Campbell's the guy. I liked him in Toronto at times, but I also didn't like him at other times. He's pretty much been a career backup who the past 2 seasons was thrown into a starting gig. And so is that guy gonna push them over the top? I'm not so sure. I didn't really make any improvements to the blue line. They re-signed Brett Kulak, brought in a couple depth guys like Matthias Janmark. So I guess their big move was Jack Campbell. Not sure they really could have made any other moves. So, I mean, they got a goalie at least. So I'm going to give them at least a B. Although I'm still not sold on the blue line, and I'm still not sold on what's happening in net.
Do you think there was another goalie available that they should have gone after other than Jack Campbell?
Well, that's the issue, I guess, is I don't know who that would have been. It didn't really seem like there is somebody. Like the top guys were Kemper, Campbell, Husso. And I mean, Husso's played 60 games in the NHL in his career. So I'm not sure that that's the greatest bet as a contender either. And then Kemper's getting up there in age and injury history as well. So Campbell might have just been the best option out there, and at least they found somebody.
I like that. I like that grade.
Yeah, because they're a team that shouldn't have gone as far as they did, but they have unbelievable players that said, we don't care that our team isn't good enough. We can get this far. But I think a goalie could have pushed them over the edge, especially watching that Calgary series. It was the most ridiculous thing in net I've ever seen both ways. But yeah, they needed a goalie that could come in and be like a McDavid and Draisaitl and carry the Oilers, but I don't think they got one.
Exactly. I mean, I think I think Campbell has a chance to be that guy. I mean, I think he's giving them a better chance than Mike Smith or Mikko Koskinen could, but I don't know if he's that guy who finally carries McDavid and Draisaitl to a cup. I don't necessarily see that.
Yeah, fair. We'll move down south to, or is it south? Is it south of Edmonton? I don't even know. We're not Alberta guys.
West, yeah.
So Calgary Flames, they lost Gaudreau, so
yeah, and
good.
Didn't really make any big signings other than that yet. I think they're still pushing for Kadri, so maybe it's a bit of an incomplete grade, although definitely losing one of the best players in the league, you have to give them probably an F, I guess. I mean, they went from one of the, I guess you could say, the best team in the Pacific Division to are they even a playoff team anymore, especially with teams around them getting better. I just feel like losing Gaudreau and now the uncertainty about Matthew Tkachuk too. And I think people forget that this team was like a playoff bubble team the last couple of years before they finally took the step this year. But I still really do like Daryl Sutter there as the coach. I think he gets the best out of whatever group he's given. But yeah, I mean, losing Gaudreau and not really replacing him, you can't get much better than a failing mark there.
Yeah, they need a 200 on the exam, and Kadri is not going to be that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Over to the east.
I did. Yeah, well, Winnipeg Jets are still
kicking.
kicking.
My bad.
Remember Canada, but
Winnipeg Jets. I feel like I'm pretty negative about the Canadian teams here, but that's
they didn't do too much.
Jets.
Oh, sorry.
No, they didn't. They signed David Riddick as their backup goalie. I think that was their biggest signing. I think it was their only signing on July 13th. And I think this is a team that really needed to add, especially up front, and they didn't add anything. So I've got to say a failing grade for the Jets as well. They haven't dealt with all the talk the offseason is they're going to change up the core. They're either going to move Dubois or Scheifele or Wheeler. None of that's happened. There hasn't been any additions around them. So for me, this is a Jets team that was on the rise for a while. And even last season, I had a little bit of hope that they'd be turning things around, but it really hasn't worked out for them this past season. And this off season's been a mess for me as well. I don't quite understand what they're trying to do here.
Yeah, they're playing a patient game, kind of where they shouldn't be. They got to make a lot of moves, and that they kind of losing Bufflin was a big thing for them, even though that was a while ago. Like that kind of changed a lot.
Who was their one signing there?
David Riddick.
David Riddick, yeah,
big
huge.
Dave, yeah.
Big
Nice.
Dave.
Nice.
I guess we're going east now. It gets a little bit better here with Toronto.
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
You might be a little more critical.
B, yeah, I'm not too sure. Like they didn't make any bad moves necessarily. I think how close they were up against the cap, they could only do so much. Yeah. I like that they didn't have to commit term to a goalie, but I don't know if Murray and Samsonov are going to be the guys. I still think they need some depth scoring up front. So it wasn't a failure of an offseason. I mean, for Toronto, it's kind of an incomplete. It's what happens in the first round of the playoffs. And until we know what happens there, I just have a hard time giving them that much of a grade until I see how this team ends up playing.
Yeah. They have a crucial year coming up. It's time for them to play some clutch hockey, so they should be exciting to watch.
And without straying away from the main question here, it seems like the problem with the Leafs in the offseason every year is no space. If you could go back with Willie Nylander and that whole Sweden situation, or even like the Marner Matthews contracts, would you do anything differently to make the future, like right now, easier?
Well, I think the Nylander contract's pretty team friendly now, like around $7 million. I don't think that's that bad for one of your best players. Marner's a lot up there around 11 million. So is Matthews, but I mean, there's some of the best players in the league there. Would I have changed anything with those two? I don't think so. The Tavares signing is looking worse and worse every year. Although when you have an opportunity to bring in a guy like John Tavares, I don't think you can pass up on it. But yeah, it just hasn't aged too well. And if anything, that's kind of been a bit of a downfall of the team rather than the big three. I think just Tavares not quite being that, he hasn't been one of the best players in the league for a while now, and paying him $11 million to do so, I think is really hindering this team quite a bit.
Yeah, that first year was pretty good. Like he had like a 40-goal season or whatever. But
Yeah.
Since then, he dropped off big time.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so the rankings might get a little bit higher here when we ship it over to Ottawa.
Yeah, I mean, Ottawa, I'm waiting to see about that defenseman, like I said before. I heard Mackenzie Weegar from Florida a bit. I think that would be a huge addition. I think I really love Weegar. I think he's one. I think if Florida were to let him go, that would be concerning for them. But if Ottawa were to end up with him, I'd have to give them an A+ for sure. Right now, maybe just an A, waiting for that final move here. But in terms of how much they built up this team into a team that I'm expecting to be fighting for a wild card spot, it's been a pretty crazy offseason for them.
Yeah, I love it. I'd like to see the Sens pushing forward because they do need a defenseman for Shabbat. Shabbat can't be doing all the work back there. He is a workhorse, but he can't do it.
And for them to convince someone like Giroux to come home and sign with the Senators, I was really impressed about that. I mean, the Senators aren't exactly a team who've attracted free agents either in recent years, and for them to convince Giroux that we're a team on the rise, and by the end of this contract we're going to be a contender. I mean, I think that's a pretty good move by them. Yeah,
for any team to go out and get like two, like without a doubt, NHL superstars in one off season is like, you don't see that very, very rarely.
No, for sure. It's definitely out of the Canadian teams, the Senators have done the best this off season.
Yeah. The last one here with the Montreal Canadiens, they didn't do too bad either. I guess their first overall pick helps them, if you want to count that as a big time.
Yeah, I've liked what they've done. I've really liked what Kent Hughes has done since he took over for Marc Bergevin. As much as they had just an awful year last year, I think they probably shouldn't have even made the playoffs the year they made the Cup final, and then things just really fell apart after that. But I think they're building up the right way. They've got Suzuki and Caulfield and now Doc and some guys in the back end as well. Little disappointed they gave up on Alexander Romanov so early, but at the same time, I think Kirby Doc's worth that bet to give up on Romanov. I hope they can find another defenseman. I like that they shipped off Jeff Petrie there, got a little bit back in return for him. So I think it's been a good offseason for the Canadiens. They haven't made a huge free agent splash to try and be competitive next year. They're kind of playing it slow, getting some young players. So I like what the Canadiens have done, and I'll have to give them a B or a B+ for sure.
Yeah, it seemed like they had a bit of a different approach, not hunting for the big names, but hunting for the potential big names that could really.
Exactly, yeah.
I think it was the right way to approach it too. A lot of teams try and rush it, like you could say Ottawa maybe would actually no, because DeBrincat's so young, but a lot of teams would try and skip the whole rebuilding phase, get these two players that'll make the whole difference. But I think where they're
kind of a Vancouver situation there, like you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love the Montreal management. Those boys are sick. Vinny Lecavalier. They're trying to build a 2004
Yeah, exactly.
2004 Lightning team again.
They're running it back.
Exactly. No, and especially when you look at the division, like we've talked about, I mean, there's not a lot of room for them to move their way up. So I think building slow and kind of waiting for things to shake out above them is probably the right way to approach things.
Yeah, agreed. Have we made it to the end?
Yeah, I think this is the end. If
That was the card.
we'll get your Stanley Cup pick for next year. We'll probably talk to you before the Stanley Cup.
Yeah,
Get your
honestly,
early
I
reaction.
haven't even thought about it yet. Like, normally I at least think about it. I'll have to get it to you the next time we chat, because I haven't even put a thought into it yet. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Colorado goes back to back. That core is just too good. Do I have a wild card off the top of my head? I don't know. I like Carolina to finally put things together. Maybe Brent Burns and Max Pacioretty have a huge year, and Carolina does it. So I don't know. I kind of have to stick with either the Avalanche or the Hurricanes, but I'll get back to you on my real pick next time we talk.
Yeah, I like it.
I got one more, since it's still relevant and it won't be the next time that we talk. Matthews over McDavid for those two major awards. Do you agree as a Leafs fan?
I do for this year. I think Matthews was just crazy, and the goal scoring that he put up, you just don't see anymore. I mean, we haven't seen a 60-goal season in over 10 years. So for me, you had to give it to him, just how special that season was. I think he took a step as a defensive player as well. And I just don't think McDavid's quite taken that leap as a defensive player yet. So for me, it had to be Matthews this year for both of them.
I like it. I like that too.
That actually makes me feel better about it now. You're making sense. Especially, I'm happy that McDavid got the kind of the last laugh in the playoffs and got to show that he can take a team. But I'll give Matthews those regular season awards for that then.
Well, thanks for joining us, man. It's been unreal.
Yeah, he never disappoints. This guy knows his stuff.
100%.
Go follow NHL Discussion if you want to know every single thing that's going on in the league. Keep a heartbeat pulse on there.
Love it.
For sure. Thanks for having me, guys, and hopefully we can chat again.
Awesome.
Yeah, 100%, man. We love it.
Okay, catch you later.
Have a good one, dude.
See you, dude.